So the entire Fever front office is cooked, man. They are cooked. They are suffering from PTSD, and the worst part is that if you were suffering from enough PTSD, at least go for talent. At least bring in Odyssey Sims on a vet minimum. Like she caught the vet minimum from Dallas. At least bring in Odyssey Sims on a vet minimum. Because this team has PTSD and they are preparing for life without Caitlin Clark. I mean that. They're preparing for either life without Caitlin Clark or life without Aaliyah Boston. One or the other. Like, genuinely. One or the other is expected to not play, according to the Fever. It does not make any sense what they're doing. And listening to the front office, they are fully doubling and tripling down in let's bring in 75 guards. And by the way, a lot of people think Walker Kimbrough, they're like, oh, she's only there for training camp. No. Walker Kimbrough is on the roster. She is on the roster. I'm telling you that for a fact. There is more of a chance of Raven Johnson getting cut than Walker Kimbrough getting cut. Raven's not going to be cut. They are going to be cutting. They're going to be cutting size to bring in another 5'9" guard. As in, like, they're going to be not bringing in any more size via training camps. And they're not going to be bringing in size in Justine Passat. And they're going to be cutting her for Shatori Walker Kimbrough. And let's take a listen to what Kelly Krause was saying. And I will talk a little bit about the Justine Passat one, how that could be a disaster. And the fact is that I don't think players have to commit to developmental contracts. If another team wants to sign them to a developmental contract, I don't think a player has to commit. If another team wants to sign them to a full contract and their team wants to sign them to developmental because it's only pay as you play, I don't think they have to commit to it. But anyway, let's take a listen.
You feel pretty good about it?
I mean, yeah, no, there's, we'll probably add another, actually we may be announcing it today, another backcourt, to your point about the angst of the backcourt, the guard play, you got to be ready. I mean, we were able to salvage it last year, but yeah, so we're going to tweak a little bit.
So basically, because every single guard got injured, they are now prematurely signing an entire team of guards because they had to salvage it via hardships last year. And now I don't know what the hardship rule is, but it's a lot easier to find a hardship guard than it is to find a hardship big. Like, no one's, like, the last, especially in a 15-team WNBA, there's not going to be hardship bigs. Like, yes, maybe in a 12-team hardship WNBA, a team might let Monique Billings walk. But, like, that's not going to be there in a 15-team WNBA. There's no hardship bigs. There is genuinely not going to be any hardship bigs. So we're at that stage now where this roster, they have literally gone and signed more guards because they're trying to plan for their guards getting injured. They've as good as said it. They want to prepare for their entire guard rotation being injured. Like, it was a freak. It was a freak accident. It was a freak situation where Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, Ari McDonald, and Sydney Colson all get injured at the same time. If that happens again right off the fucking season, like, they were like, we were able to salvage it. You know what? Genuinely fair play. Fair play being able to salvage that. But, like, you should rather, instead of preparing to put together a team to win a championship, they're preparing to put together a team to survive if Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and Ty Harris all get injured. Because all they have done is sign guards. And by the way, Shatori Walker Kimbrough is not going to be in the rotation. She's not going to be in the rotation. And she's not going to be, and if there's an injury, she's still not going to be in the rotation. Like, you're probably looking at Raven Johnson only getting the Sid Colson minutes. And she's behind Raven Johnson in the pecking order.
We have development.
Can you break the news right here? Can you tell me who it is right here?
I mean, I got to check with my people to see where it is in the pipeline here. But a veteran guard that I think is really going to help us. But we have the two development.
A veteran guard that is really going to help us. A veteran guard that is really going to help us. Shatori Walker Kimbrough is not going to see the floor unless there's injuries. She can't play the three. She doesn't pass the ball. Especially in recent years, from what I've seen, she's not been a good defender. Like, She's not being a good defender. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I watched a whole bunch of Washington Mystics basketball between the years of 2021 and 2023. I'm not going to pretend that I watched a whole bunch of their basketball. And like, she, in the year 2024, she was a good bench player, and she went through that hot streak. And pretty much she went through the hot streak in 2024, and that is the only good basketball she's played. She was so bad in Atlanta last year. She averaged 1 point, like a quarter of an assist per game. Like, it is now at the stage where we are looking at the Indiana Fever, and they would rather, like, this is how you build a team to scrape a playoff spot and be competent. It's looking like instead of going for a title, they're like, oh, you know, like, let's be completely real. If Caitlin Clark is injured for the season again, if Kelsey gets injured, if all the backup guards get injured, it is one of these things where you're like, just write it off. They should have, like, it's fair enough. They did well in the playoffs last year. And if they had lost, by the way, if the Atlanta Dream didn't have one of the biggest brain, like 2 games in a row, the Dream against the Fever in game 3 and the Aces against the Storm, both the Dream and the Storm literally just one player on their team, their vet player, Bree Jones and Neko Wumuke, switched off on the defensive end and gave up wide open layups to lose the series. Like, if they don't, the Indiana Fever fucked up their offense. If Bree Jones doesn't switch off and guard the free throw line and leave Aaliyah Boston wide open for a layup, the Indiana Fever don't win that series. They have the 10th pick in the draft. They don't do well in the playoffs. And had they just lost a couple more games, they would have had Lauren Betts. Had they just not gone for it, like, and play, like, done things like, you know, sit Lexi Hull when her skull was like borderline, like not far off being fractured. Stuff like that, like not risking the health of your players to try to make a push for the 8th seed. Had the Golden State Valkyries, and by the way, like, the Minnesota Lynx threw a game against the Valkyries because they didn't want to face the Seattle Storm. Like, the Fever were this far off playing the Aces in round 1 and losing to the Aces in round 1. Like, everything had to go right for the Indiana Fever. They play a non-experienced playoff team who had a good regular season. That team chokes, and then the Aces just completely underestimated them. And the Fever matched up really well to the Aces for some reason last year, especially without Caitlin Clark. With the way the Aces defense was, the Fever actually matched up really, really well to them. So, ironically, I do think the Fever were better against that one specific team without Caitlin Clark. At the end of the day, though, like, this is an organization that is preparing for Caitlin or Kelsey to get injured. Like, that's what people are joking. It's like, are they going to trade? Are they trading Kelsey or Caitlin during the season? Are they preparing for a Caitlin trade? Because that is literally how they're acting. Like, could you imagine if the Indiana Pacers going into the next season, going into 2026-27, if the Indiana Pacers spent the offseason and they signed 4 point guards, and then they said, you know, Tyrese Halliburton missed last season with an Achilles injury, so we need to make sure we're not, like, if Tyrese is out, we're okay. And I'm like, well, first of all, if Caitlin Clark gets injured, you're not winning anything. If Kelsey Mitchell gets injured, you're not winning anything. You're probably not winning anything if they're healthy. So, trying to put a team together that is the best case scenario if your stars get injured is not how to build a winning team. You put together a team that can win while healthy. You don't put together a 4th seed while healthy and a team that might still scrape the 8th seed if not healthy. Like, that is irrelevant. It is better to put together a winning team while healthy and a team that, if not healthy, will flame out and get you a good draft pick than it is to just make sure, no matter what happens, unless Kelsey, Caitlin, and Aaliyah play like they did post-Olympic in 2024, like, you're sitting in mediocrity. And the fact is that with Steph White, they're not going to play like post-Olympic 2024 because that's not the type of coach Steph White is. I think Steph White's a much better coach than Christy Sides, but she's not the type of coach that will give Caitlin full reign to make every decision, right or wrong, that will allow Caitlin Clark to make mistakes. Steph White is a risk-averse coach, and that's fine. It is what she is. But, like, the only way this team can win is if they take risks and they impose themselves on other teams, which they didn't do, by the way, in the playoffs last year. They played reactive basketball, and albeit they did extremely well given the players they had, but they played great reactive basketball. Caitlin Clark is not a player that plays good in let's game plan for the other team. No, she wants to impose herself. She wants to impose her team on the other team. And this team is not built for that. This team is not built to succeed with Caitlin Clark. This team is built to be competent without Caitlin Clark. That is basically what they're doing. And you can hear what they're saying. It's like, we're trying to make sure that, we have a bunch of guys. This isn't aimed against Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. Had they not signed Ty Harris and drafted Raven Johnson, I'm okay with bringing in Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. But the big selling point is she's a veteran guard that won a championship. Yeah, she won a championship back when Kevin Durant was on the Warriors. Like, come on.